Are we ready to get started, guys?
You are.
I'm gonna be like finger gunning all the time. I came dressed in like my solid dad gear.
I like the outfit.
My cell phone patch. Got a super cool like calculator watch. Got my shades. Got double glasses because you know we're cool like that. But yeah, dad ready. I'm not wearing New Balances or socks. I don't own any, so I'm in flip flops. I should put socks on with flip flops. I feel like that's a dad thing. Or slides, but I don't know slides. So, all right, we're gonna try and get this on point from the get. Spotlight myself. Be super cheesy about it, and then we are live on Facebook. So if that's where you are tuning in, random person on the internet, I will be trying to pay attention to the comments. Highly encourage everybody to send me your really bad dad jokes in the chat or on Facebook. I'll be happy to read them out and deliver them very poorly, and then probably laugh a lot because I love really bad jokes. But we have 3 cocktails today for you, and I'm super stoked. We're gonna go ahead and start with probably my, I don't know if this is my favorite. I just think this is a very dude drink today. But we're gonna start with this one because Emmanuel has some grilling he's gotta go do. So we're gonna do the whiskey cocktail first. And the whiskey cocktail, if you prepped for it, according to the flyer that was on the page, that's going to be the one called Don't Tell Your Mom, Don't Tell Mom. And that's because we're using really big knives, lighting a lot of stuff on fire, and drinking a lot of alcohol. So, don't tell mom. But so for the cocktail, you're going to need whiskey. I have a higher proof bourbon. You can use a Irish whiskey. You can use a rye whiskey. All of them really generally work. I just like bourbon for this particular cocktail. So we're going to be using bourbon, lime juice, Coke, Dr. Pepper, Pepsi, whatever it is you drink. I'll be using Dr. Pepper because I wrote Texas all day. And then we're going to rim the glass with salt. So if you don't have a rimmer, I have 2 little ramekins that I'll be using, but you can use 2 plates. Tupperware containers work just as well. One has a little bit of water. And then I'm going to put a little bit of salt in the other one. You can do lime juice instead of water. And then that's all we're going to need to get started. So I'm going to make this cocktail in a mixing glass. And if you don't have one of those, you can use, and you have a shaker, you can use either part of your shaker. You can do it in a Tupperware container. We get creative with the quarantine situation. First thing we're going to do, though, is prep our glass. So we're going to rim our glass. And what that means is we're going to wet the edge and then put something on it. So usually that's like salt or sugar. You can do a spice blend. This is a common technique for margaritas. So I'm just gonna dip the glass in water just a tiny bit and then put it in the salt. And then I like to smack my glass to get rid of any excess salt and then have a really cool little, I'll show you up close and better. But I like the way this looks. It looks more kind of like a snowflake once things are filled rather than just a perfect rim. That's just my personal preference. You can do just a regular rim without smacking the glass if you'd like. But so this cocktail is actually inspired from a traditional cocktail that's made with rum. So if you don't happen to have whiskey, feel free to use rum. The original cocktail is called a batanga. It's kind of like a rum and coke, but we're doing a whiskey coke and then adding some extra stuff into it. So in our cocktail shaker, we're going to add 1.5 ounces of our whiskey. And this does have citrus juice. Usually people prefer to shake cocktails with citrus juice. Honestly, I didn't think it made too much of a difference here whether we shook it or stirred it. I prefer to stir it. We're going to use 1/2 ounce of lime juice. And now I've fresh pressed this lime juice, and I know I've said before in some of these classes that you can't find fresh, use bottled, and that's entirely okay. But if you were able to press your juice, I had an elbow juicer, which is one of those that looks like that. And if you have a 1/2 of a lime, and then you juice it, part of our garnish today is I flip that lime inside out to make like a little bowl. And I'll show you what we're going to do with that later. So if you are using fresh limes, like juice them, but don't throw them out because it makes a cool little garnish. So in here, whiskey, lime juice. Gonna open our Dr. Pepper or your Coke, that's what you got. And then I'm gonna be using about 3.5 ounces. I'm gonna put that directly into my mixing glass. And now this ratio might be a little too strong. Like the whiskey will definitely be something you can taste. So if you like your drinks to taste a little bit lighter, you can either dial back the whiskey or add a little bit more of your soda. And technically this cocktail calls for 2 ounces. And I know we only put 1.5 ounces in here, but I'll show you what we're gonna do with the remaining ounce. So we're gonna fill our glass with ice carefully. Then we're gonna put some ice in our mixing glass. There's a lot of bartenders out there that may watch this and be losing their minds because I'm not necessarily doing everything the way you're supposed to. I like to break rules, and I think a very dad thing to say is like, it doesn't matter if it tastes good, right? It means to an end. Doesn't matter how you're doing it. So that's what we're doing today. It doesn't matter. So we're gonna stir our cocktail for about 15, 20 seconds. If you don't have a fancy spoon, I've recommended it before. You can totally use a chopstick. Knives work as well, just like a regular butter knife. Cocktail spoons are kind of fun to use and learn how to play with. All right. So once that's all nice and shaken, or sorry, stirred, we're gonna strain it very carefully over our ice into our glass. And I say carefully just because we're trying to make sure we don't ruin that salt rim that we put on there. All right. And then, in honor of Watanga, if you have a fresh lime, unjuiced, we're gonna go ahead and cut a little wedge of it using my heavy-duty everyday knife. We're gonna stab this baby. Put it directly into the glass. Get it down in there. Because we like playing with knives. So, there you go. Neither one I see. All right. And then we have our little lime bowl, right? So very simple. The only thing I will say is if you do this and you have limes, you usually have like the butt of the lime and then the other one has where the stem would go. If you try to flip the one that has the stem part inside out, sometimes that stem will come off and then it'll leave this tiny, tiny, tiny hole. So if you then try to like fill this with something, it'll drip through. So I like to use the butt of the lime. So I'm gonna come over and show you guys how it looks. I just literally flipped it inside out. And then I'm gonna put it on top of my glass, like so. And that's where we're gonna put the rest of our whiskey. I'm gonna just put it right in there, our little wine bowl. I'm just gonna eyeball it. It doesn't have to be a full 1/2 ounce. Now, if you don't have one of these, I think the best way to serve this, honestly, would be to put it in a little shot glass on the side. So you have a couple options if you do that. You can either put the shot on the side and then we're gonna light it on fire, because why not? But you can take it, light it on fire, dump it into your drink and chug your drink. Or you can light it on fire, blow it out, drink it, or don't light it on fire and just give yourself an extra shot of whiskey. But my room is pretty well lit, so it's gonna be kind of hard to see. I think we're gonna try and light it on fire. It'll show up on camera. Tried this earlier, and the flame is just a lot easier to see in a dark, dark room. So I see it on fire, but I don't know if y'all can tell. Yeah, it's not reading, but imagine the flame is huge, because it is. And then you get to drink your drink. That's a very good drink if I do say so myself. So to all you dads out there that like to light things on fire and use unnecessarily large tools for everything. This is good for you. Let's see, we got Alan coming into it. And you can also do this without salt, but I just think the salt gives it a really nice little added oomph. Yeah, so that is Don't Tell Your Mom. Basically, if the kids see you drinking this, that's what you go tell them. So we've got the Don't Tell Your Mom, guys. Next up, we're going to do one of my personal favorites of the day. I call this Kiss the Cook. And I came up with this cocktail. It is based on an Arnold Palmer, which is like a tea and lemonade drink.
That's nice.
But I just kind of wanted to like amp it up, make it kind of chefy, but also make something that people that like to be on the grill. I know a lot of dads that like to grill. I like to grill. If I was a dad, I would still grill. But yeah, I just figured, you always have those dads that are just kind of kitschy in the whole like kiss the cook or grill in time aprons. So if you got one of those, you go put one of those bad boys on. You're gonna grill some lemons. So the reason we're gonna grill the lemons is to make grilled lemon juice. So I took about a half dozen lemons this morning, brushed them very, very, very lightly with olive oil, and then set them on my grill. And then once they cooled, I juiced them and made grilled lemon juice. It just adds a really nice depth of flavor, a very small hint of smokiness. And then it honestly just kind of mellows out the lemon just a tiny bit, which is really nice. So grilled lemons. And then if you were able to prepare, this is the thyme-infused vodka that we prepared this week. So this takes anywhere from 2 to 4 days. This is a 4-day infusion. The color changes drastically after day 2. Day 1 is still pretty clear, but you can do this with regular vodka if you weren't able to prepare. I just really like the thyme and lemon combination. Plus it adds that extra herbaceous note to the cocktail. So for this one, we're going to use a cocktail shaker. I have one of those handy. And then we are going to be using, for this cocktail, you'll need your thyme vodka, your grilled lemon juice, some brewed black tea that we brewed and let cool, and then some simple syrup. It's a very straightforward cocktail. So I'm going to use 1.5 ounces of our thyme-infused vodka. Put that in there. And if you're not into thyme as an herb, it's probably one of my top 3 herbs. You could do this with rosemary, you could do it with sage. I would recommend definitely using a heartier herb. So sage, rosemary, thyme, oregano. Not really basil or mint. Those tend to be bitter if you infuse them as long as we infuse this. So if that is kind of the route you want to go, just don't infuse it as long. So 1.5 ounces of the thyme vodka. Then I'm going to use 1 ounce of our grilled lemon juice. Which let me say is like after I did this cocktail, this is my new obsession. I just really love, I want to grill all the juices now that I make cocktails with. I want to do it with grilled orange juice. I don't know about lime, but I think grilled grapefruit juice and grilled orange juice would be very interesting. So we've got 1 ounce of our lemon juice. We're going to do 1/2 ounce of simple syrup. Go ahead and pour that directly in there. And then I just brewed regular black tea. I usually have Louisiana here at the house, but if you have different kinds of tea that you want to play around with, this would be good with a jasmine tea. You could use green tea. You could use a fruit and herbal tea. But whatever your choice, we're going to use 3 ounces. And I just really like sweet tea because I'm from Texas and the South. But I also just like trying to make interesting versions of classics. So in honor of this being an actual black tea to lemonade cocktail, I wanted to keep it as classic as possible. So in our shaker, 1.5 ounces thyme vodka. We have 1 ounce of the grilled lemon juice, 1/2 ounce of our simple syrup, and then 3 ounces of our black tea. So we're going to fill our cocktail shaker with ice. I'm going to shake for about 10 to 15 seconds. Yeah, you like that? All right, So we're gonna dirty dump this cocktail, which means directly from the shaker with the ice that's already in here into our glass. I'm gonna top this off with a ton of ice. Just bring our, so it stays nice and cold. Like I said, I envision this cocktail for when you're out on the grill. So you want to make sure it's got a lot of ice so it stays cold while you're next to that hot grill. I'm going to garnish this with some thyme and then some really nice grilled lemon, because I made some extra slices today. And if you are a dad that likes to grill, highly recommend using your Yeti cup for this. My Yeti cup was entirely too big, and I didn't want to make a double on camera, but I will later. So use your Yeti cup, guys. Oh, it's nice. You see that lemon? This is really nice because when you smell it, you get all of the grill first because that lemon is just holding still. I grilled these probably 4 hours ago, and they still smell fresh off the grill. And then I love when you shake tea. Try not to spill this all over my computer. But it makes a natural foam once you add in the simple syrup and you shake it really nice. So it's just good. Like you see this and you're just like, good drink. You gotta use finger guns though. But don't hurt anybody. So we'll put those away and go make another cocktail. I really like this. This is good stuff, guys. Really good stuff. All right, so that's 2 cocktails down. Gonna check in on our Facebook peeps, see how it's going over there. Chandler is like an old person. I'm really having trouble with technology all the time. So if I miss it, just try to believe that it's me trying to channel my inner dad who just sucks at using technology. I'm sure there's dads out there that are good at it. Mine is not, but that's fine. It allows us to bond over the wonders of technology. All right, and then this last cocktail we're gonna make, I call this white New Balances. It's like the quintessential thing you should be wearing as a dad from what I'm told. Like I said, I don't have any, but I hope you do have some. If you do, totally need to wear them while drinking this cocktail. I named it White New Balances because when I drank the cocktail, it tasted like something you would want to drink after mowing the lawn. And from what I'm told, you wear the White New Balances to mow the lawn. I also was inspired to make this recipe by one of the people that tends to participate in our cocktail classes, and that would be Miss Beth. She told me about a salad she grew up eating with basil and jalapeno and watermelon. And so that's kind of what we're doing. We're going to create a cocktail with all of those ingredients. So you're going to need a cocktail shaker. And we're going to be using watermelon juice for this cocktail. I tested 4 different kinds of ways to use watermelon juice in this cocktail because I don't have a juicer. So first, I bought the Arizona watermelon cocktail beverage. Entirely too sweet, don't use it. Then I tried, they sell a beverage now, I think you can get them at like Walmart, you can get them at a grocery store, it's called watermelon water. You can get those with like ginger or just plain, and they're really tasty, but they're very mellow. So once we added in all the cocktail ingredients, you couldn't taste the watermelon anymore. So then I took a bunch of fresh watermelon and I blended it. And that was good. It was very good, but it had a texture to it, even when it was fine strained, because you're breaking up all that water. So what I ended up doing, guys, what we're going to be doing today, is I took watermelon and put it in my elbow juicer. It was a long process because my elbow juicer is the size of a lime, but it was totally worth it. And I found yellow watermelons, which created this beautiful orange colored watermelon juice. So I'm going to be using that. Yellow watermelons are a little harder to find. You can totally do this with standard watermelons. I just really, really like yellow watermelon. So to make this cocktail, we're going to use tequila. This is one of the very few instances where I will recommend using silver tequila. And the reason for that is because the jalapeno and the basil are much more pronounced when we're using the silver tequila. I did try this with aged tequila. I didn't like it as much, but it's still tasty. So we're going to use 1.5 ounces, which is basically this whole bottle. So I'm not even going to measure it. Because yeah, why not? So tequila. Da, 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 da. Da, na, 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 tequila. I wish I had like a dad living in my house right now and he could just like come on screen and do that. That'd be great. Okay, so ounce and a half of tequila. And then we're gonna use an ounce and a half of watermelon juice. Like I said, mine is yellow watermelon juice. Feel free to use red watermelon juice. Then we're gonna use a half ounce of lime. And we're gonna use agave today in this cocktail instead of simple syrup. So it's gonna be a half ounce of that. Now, if you don't have agave and all you have is simple syrup, I just recommend maybe using a quarter ounce. It tends to be quite sweet if you do the full half ounce of simple syrup. You could also make a honey simple syrup, which we've done quite often on this class. So if you need the recipe, just shoot me a message. If not, you can go through all of the flyers that are and see where they are there because I know the recipes are on a few of those. Now, we need to add in our jalapeno and our basil. So I'm going to be adding in 3 tiny slices jalapeno and 3 leaves of basil. I'm going to tear them up a little bit. So if you want this cocktail to be spicier, before adding more jalapeno, muddle it. I'm not going to muddle this cocktail. I like the spice and the basil to just be this back note that's really nice, but accentuating the cocktail rather than the front of the cocktail. So I'm not going to muddle it. I'm going to just shake that flavor into there. But if you like your cocktails spicy, muddling this will take it there without adding any extra ingredients. So, as for a shaker, and then we're going to shake the shit out of it. So we're going to do. So that particular shaking method is my personal favorite when I'm trying to really hard shake. Not everybody shakes the same way I do. It's the best way for me to be able to get all the ingredients to break up. I have tiny arms, tiny people problems. So for this cocktail, I'm going to be using a rocks glass. This is actually a double rocks glass, but it'll fit just fine in a single. I'm going to use my special ice cubes. Because you know, dads like to use their special stuff. I'll put 2 of them in there. You may not need that. I don't know. We'll find out. Then I'm going to double strain this cocktail. So if you haven't been here before, that means we're going to use a standard cocktail strainer and then a fine strainer and then strain both of these. And the reason I'm doing that is because I don't want to have to chew on chunks of jalapeno and basil in my cocktail. So pour that over our ice. Beautiful. Right. It looks so good. And we garnish it with a little basil. Put that in there. And I made these adorable little watermelon ribbons with my pink watermelon and my red watermelon. And there's jalapeno slices on the end. So all of the ingredients are on our garnish. And that is what we call who had New Balances. Stay in school, kids. Drink afterwards. Now check out these. I'm in love with this new little garnish that I've been doing. Isn't that pretty, guys? I just took a vegetable peeler, cut a piece of watermelon slice to where instead of being the triangle, I cut a little edge like that, and then I just use my vegetable peeler. Oh, it's really good. It's really nice and fresh, really bright and fruity. Not too sweet, which is hard because watermelon in and of itself is pretty sweet. But that spice and that basil just really balance it out. And I did try this by juicing or cold or elbow pressing the watermelon that was pink, but the end result of the color was not as pretty. It lost a lot of its vibrance. So that's why I really chose to do this cocktail with the yellow watermelon. The flavor is also a little bit sweeter on yellow watermelon, but I could also put an extra shot of tequila in here. It's pretty good. Oh, let's see. We got a dad joke. Like this is appropriate time. Let me get to my dad's stance. Make sure everybody can see my cool watch while I read this joke. Let's see. It says, what did Archimedes Tell the stinky cheese. Eureka. It's so bad. It's so great. I'm gonna laugh about that all day. I also love food-related jokes. Just terrible. But yes, those are our cocktails, guys. And I know these classes seem to be going by faster lately. And I think it's just because we have a lot of the people participating offline. So if there are any questions whatsoever, please be sure to message me. My hotline is always open. Got another dad joke. I don't know how to line this one up, but it says, my parents moved around a lot when I was a kid, but I always found them though. Genuinely tickled by these jokes. I hope, please send me all of your dad jokes today. I'll get nothing done. I'll just sit here and read dad jokes. But in other news, if you're coming back around 6 p.m. today, we'll be doing the Pandemic Pantry with Chef Chandler, which is also me. I have a lot of alter egos or multiple personalities, depending on what therapist you ask. But I'm going to keep the dad gear on just to like bring the theme all the way through. I'm going to scrap the chef jacket for tonight. But we're doing meat and potatoes because you can't go wrong. So we're going to make some beer cheese dip. We're going to make salted baby potatoes. They're crusted in salt, just enough to season them, not to where you can't eat them. And then we're going to dip those in the cheese. And then we're going to make some meat skewers with a bunch of seasonings on there and dip those in the cheese. And then if you got anything else in your house, dip that in the cheese. Also, before we go, I've got a really important question for everybody. What do you call a fake noodle? An imposter! This is so great. But yeah, to all the dads out there, happy Father's Day. I hope you have someone else making these drinks for you, or if you're getting together with your dad friends and broing down, then I hope you guys make them with each other. And if you're not a dad, these drinks are also friendly for all other groups of people, as long as you're of age. But yeah, tune in next week. We'll be playing around with bitters. I'm super excited. Those will be the base of our cocktails. So instead of using like whiskey and tequila, our literal base will be different kinds of bitters. And at the moment, I think we're working with cranberry bitters, orange bitters, and the very famous Angostura bitters. And that'll be in the cocktail class and the cooking class. I went to the worst hotel in town. They stole my towel. Like I'm doing a good knee slap. All right, so shenanigans aside, come back for the cooking class. Oh, we got another one. This is good. This matches the cocktail. I gotta stop reading the punchline before I deliver them. But it says, so I'm gonna sign off on this cocktail because it matches the joke. So, what does a nosy pepper do? Get jalapeno business? I can't. Oh, it's killing me, guys. Killing me. It's great. We should just make this a thing. Let's just do dad jokes every cocktail class. I love this. But yeah, Facebook peeps, if you're not in the Zoom room, we're going to hang out for a little bit. And if you want to come back, we'll be back at 6. But yeah, thanks for tuning in.